What's up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast, episode number 272. I'm Jeff James. With me, as always, the incredible, unobtainable, luscious, Brody Foots. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Good. Little Ruski pronunciation of your name. Ladies, gentlemen, germs, whatever you are, thank you for joining us this week. If you're joining for the first time, let me run down on what the old Diggitist does. We scour the interwebs for juicy video game news, rumors, and also give reviews as well. Then we go live every Thursday evening on Twitch and YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the King Time Zone. And then the audio version of the podcast is available on all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. We're there. On Friday morning, real early, so you can get your Friday to turn into a Friday, which is important. That's the evolution that Diggity brings to Fridays. And you can get into your moist ear holes, whether it be in your vehicle, whether it be directly pumped and ejaculated into your ears via AirPods or something like that, you know? So, hopefully that paints a pretty beautiful picture in your face, but we're here to provide some great news, and today we're talking about a good amount of stuff. Actually, considering, boy oh boy, on most major websites, it's a fucking dry week, my man.
But, the clickbait articles were out in full force.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it was a shit show.
It was gross to watch.
It was nasty. I hated every minute of it. Yeah. I feel dirty for even looking at any of it.
Yeah, we're talking about Overwatch 2 tonight. We're going to go through some PlayStation Plus game catalog editions coming as well. We're talking about how Microsoft's become a pretty salty boy. We're going to talk about revenue services that are kind of weird, which actually is kind of interesting. And then talk a little bit about how the PS5 is kind of killing it. So with that, also, actually, before I get into that, we're part of something called Spawn Camp, which is a network of a bunch of great content creators. So you can go to youtube.com/SpawnCampCo, and you can see great stuff like Diggity, us, which I'm biased, but we are the best on that. And then you'll also be able to see WSD and Beyond, which is a PC and pop culture kind of podcast as well with our friends Nick and Evan. And then we also have stuff like Build Bros. So if you're into Gundam and stuff like that, check that out as well, because the Build Bros get on there and they talk about Gundam and other weird shit. A lot of times when I listen to it, boy, half of it's Gundam, half of it's
not.
But it's also very entertaining, so I can't complain about that. And then you can also join our free Discord as well. There's not many things left in this world that are free. Our Discord is the other herpes. Discord, much nicer than herpes. So jump on over to Discord. We talk about different stuff. Everything, good God, from video games to F1 to what the hell somebody ate. I'm surprised there's not one on there in terms of like what, someone's poo looks like. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Nick would be the one to do it if anybody was going to.
Don't do it. But there's a bunch of channels on there. It's a great place. People have a lot of fun. We all play games together sometimes as well, which is really cool. It's a cool way just to connect as just people who like video games and just pop culture and just kind of nerdy stuff and different passions. So jump on over there. But with all that being said, my obligations being fulfilled, ha-cha-cha, let's get into the Overwatch 2 review, my man. Do you want to start with that, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start, or at least with a broad statement here. So my expectations were low, and I was still disappointed.
Just goes right into it.
Shit. No, honestly, I get a lot of the situation they were in. Obviously, they couldn't control some of the things that were happening, as far as not being able to get into games and some of that. I will say I don't think all of it was the DDoS attack. I think some of it is they still don't know how to manage servers this late into the game, even though they've been doing this for damn near forever. But I think overall, so I went into it with the intention of knowing, like, hey, this is Overwatch 1, essentially, right? There's some updates, there's some new characters, there's some of these things. But at the core of it, this is still Overwatch 1. It is not a full new game. It's not going to have that single player content yet, which sucks because that's kind of what I was looking forward to more out of this. But I was still kind of disappointed because it doesn't feel any different at all. The biggest thing for me was just figuring out the new characters. And I think there's like one new mode, right, where it's the robot that you have to push from side to side, which was kind of cool. I actually did enjoy that game mode for what it was worth, but it doesn't seem like I mean the meta has changed, right? Because we've gone from 6 heroes to 5 heroes now, so everything is different than what it was as far as you don't have another tank if your tank goes down. You don't have another healer, yeah, I guess you would have 2 healers in most cases, but the way they've kind of divvied up the different characters and everything, it seems like one of the healing characters or support characters is going to predominantly play somebody who can still deal out some damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a Lucio, which I found to be very underpowered right now, which is weird. He used to be like a go-to healer for sure, and I don't see him being utilized very often. But anyway, I think overall, I mean, it is Overwatch 1.5, right? Like this is a half step in a direction. It is an update they could have very well done to Overwatch, and to put it out and call it Overwatch 2 kind of feels disingenuous because it's implying that there's a lot new and there really isn't. But I think it functions well. I mean, Overwatch wasn't inherently, I don't want to say it wasn't inherently broken, but it wasn't really. Like it functioned well as a hero shooter for what it was worth, and I think it still functions well in this new-ish type of game, right? And I think it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. The battle pass I found pretty lackluster. I still bought it because I'm a fucking idiot, and and I'm still going to play it, and I just haven't gotten to play a whole lot so far. But I think it was just the hype leading up to this, right? Like, and even though, like, we read every press release they put out on this, we've gone through all of the information that they put out, so
and all that shit.
The videos, exactly, and so we knew exactly what we were getting into. But I can only imagine the amount of disappointment for people that had no fucking idea what they were walking into, and they're like, "Wait a second,
at
this
least
is just
the
Overwatch
difference
again."
is it's free. So that helps.
Right.
But
And that is, I think that is the saving grace. And I think that was a very smart move on their part. I have not actually looked at the shop to see how bad the prices are, but I've heard they're pretty rough.
Yeah, they are pretty rough.
And if you were to do it in game to earn that currency, like it would take a very, very long time from what I understand. But it's a free to play model, right? And I don't think any of us are too surprised by that. But what's your take on it so far?
Yeah, so I'll start with the launch because that was the biggest piece. So I tried getting in, when it was at launch, and I was successful in getting in and being able to play 2 games before being kicked out. And then I was busy for a couple of days, so I had to come back to it. And I didn't really have any server issues that time, like getting in. But then the issue I had was all my shit was locked up when I got in. Like there was basically like a bug that happened where some players, because if you had unlocked all those other characters in Overwatch 1, they carried over when you did like an account merge, right, prior to Overwatch 2 launching. And basically the bug made all my shit lock up, so I wasn't able to access anything for about a day, and then they decided to shut the servers off at it was like 10:30 at night one night or whatever for like an hour until like midnight, which needed to happen.
Like 7. It was at 7 p.m. It was like prime time of gaming. They shut everything down. It was crazy.
Needed to happen. And when it spun back up, the bug was gone for that. My annoyance with that was, if you're billions and billions and $billion company, why the fuck don't you have the demand set for this? And then I understand DDoS attacks, but there's other ways to negate DDoS attacks. And I think it just kind of shows that probably most of the online infrastructure, which, not to their fault, was probably the same from when it was Overwatch 1. and hadn't really changed as much in Overwatch 2.
Right.
And I just don't know how you sit there and, like what they've been pushing this game since, God, when? Like 2019? 18?
At least I think it was 2019. Yeah,
And
2019 or
so,
2020 at the very earliest.
you do
Or
that.
latest. Sorry.
You do that the entire point leading up to that. There's kind of some mystery behind all of this, right? Still is up to the launch. Like, they did good videos explaining what was going to be in it and stuff like that, but it's still like, okay, what, like, just the nature of how they did this. Not that it hadn't been done in games before, but it was being done in a different way. And so it was kind of a mystery. So the demand was high for that shit. And it still is. I mean, it's like I think it's in the top 3 free to play games right now across like all platforms, which is great. But I just don't understand how you don't prepare for that. Like, that's kind of fucking stupid to me. Like, that doesn't make much sense to me. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the launch. I'll start with the UI. In-game UI I think is great. I think it's fine. I think they've made some changes that need to happen. It's really cool now seeing like when you're being healed. It's much easier to see like what character is healing you. I think that was important because before, you sat there and you just didn't know like, oh, is it Mercy that's healing me a ton? Is it Lucio that's healing me? And you can kind of give props for sure for that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. But the menu systems like in-game are drastic in terms of like quality on different screens. So like, for example, on the home screen, you've got like your standard, dynamic moving image home screen or whatever, and that's great. But then like if you click like options or start or whatever platform you're on, and you go into the back menus for like video and audio, all of a sudden like everything is clunky and it's like shitty and it doesn't make sense. Like, I think that the score board in game looks like shit. It's kind of hard to fucking read.
It is a very small font. I don't know what the deal with that was.
Which
on
is
PC,
crazy.
it's not so bad because I'm right here, right? But yeah, imagine if you're playing on PlayStation or something and sitting, back on a chair and looking at your TV.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up too, because the font is small, but then everything else that contains the font is fucking huge. So like a great example is like when you're endorsing players after a game. The rectangles at the bottom of the screen are just needlessly large, like absurdly large, and the imagery I don't know why they did this. I think it looks like shit. Some people probably think it looks great, whatever. But everywhere else for the characters, your hero selection, everything uses a 3D model of the character, and then everything that references to the character for stats is some like fucking Microsoft Paint of the character, where like it's on purposely done in a manner that just doesn't look that great. It looks okay, but like it's definitely meant to look like it's like hand drawn, right, without any additional like tools or presets being put in for like whatever digital art program you're using. And I just and when they're blown up to that size for endorsing, you look at it and you're like, ooh, that looks like doo-doo. Or like, for example, the capture the objective maps, when it's like, it goes to that screen with red and blue and it shows like 1 or 2. That screen is so fucking bad, dude. Designed. Like, it looks like hot fucking trash compared to the last one. Like, the last one had like way more particle effects, had transparency to it. It looked way better. And this one just looked like shit. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what happened. Like, there's some screens where you're like, that's awesome. That's great. That looks sweet. And then there's other ones where you're like, this was either done by like the intern or this was done in like the last fucking minute.
Which is crazy to me too, because they already had all of this stuff. Like, again, this is essentially Overwatch.
Yes. And
they could have up-resed everything and been fine.
It was wild. And again, great point. It was wild to see, like, just in the UI, and we'll talk about other pieces too, but what they selected to completely redo, and then what they decided that they would just up-res. So like some of the great stuff that was up-res was like some of the like on-screen particle effects that show in the UI. So like a great example, like Lucio, when you switch between him having his speed boost or him having his health boost, like now it's very nice and clear and the wavelengths look awesome between healing and sound or whatever. But then we decide like with the scoreboard for objective points, we decide that we're just going to do away with the nice particle effects and stuff and go to what looks like, like a fucking prototype screen for a game that tells you the score. Like, I just, it's crazy to me. I guess on the character side of stuff, in terms of like the redesigns, I really think they nailed it.
Oh, I think the redesigns look fantastic. Yeah. I actually like the original Mercy skin. I switched off of all of my skins because I switched over to their new redesign of Mercy because it looks so good. Same for Reinhardt. Like Reinhardt looks awesome.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned that they didn't take the time to not do all of them, but like not go through some of the other custom skins and make them into an Overwatch 2 skin, because then you could just go buy it.
Right. Yeah, and maybe they will eventually or something. Maybe you have to. But what's probably going to happen is you'd have to buy the new skin because you're going to have the original Overwatch skin. Yeah. It's going to be a separate sale for sure.
Yeah, I think the redesigns are great.
I think the redesigns, I think they're fantastic. I do have a question for you. Did you carry any gold over? Any currency over?
Yes, a little bit. Not much, but a little bit.
Did it show up in game properly?
Not the first day.
Okay. I want to go back and check because at one point it said I had like 1,300 gold. And then I ended up buying the battle pass, like I said, which uses that currency, correct?
Yeah, it uses 2,200 gold, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I was kind of curious. I thought it was only like 1,000 maybe, but maybe I'm way off, right? But regardless, I had a moment where it said I had gold and then a moment where I didn't, but because I didn't think it was going to carry over properly or they were going to have a new currency because I was in Overwatch, and of course they really pushed you to, they're like, oh yeah, you can buy all of the skins and this shit, and that.
Basically, yeah.
Essentially, that's exactly what it was, right? Like, oh, all of the skins are unlocked, so you can go through and buy whatever you want. So I went through and bought everything I wanted. And, of course, I didn't check between my Xbox and PlayStation account to make sure I didn't, buy duplicate skins. And, of course, I did, naturally. One of the, like,
and then they went on sale.
Skins or something. Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, fuck me. So there's that. But, yeah, I thought that was kind of a weird thing where I still, to this day, I don't know how much currency I have because I haven't loaded it up for a little bit just because, not because I'm upset with the game or anything, and just haven't had time, but...
the new characters too, like not just the redesigns, but the new characters, they're pretty cool too. I mean, Sojourn is probably the coolest. Junker Queen, I don't really care for.
Her design's cool, but her primary weapon, her shotgun, sucks. It is terrible. It does like practically no damage.
Yeah, Sojourn's is dope because it's got like a railgun boost, which is
and
dope.
It does a shitload of damage. I've been wiped by Sojourn so many times.
So like those are cool. I guess the going from 5v5 to 6v6, I don't really notice that big of a difference, to be honest with you. I think the difference I notice is that it's not as shieldy, so like shit moves.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm very okay with that because Overwatch slowly became over time just a game where it's just break
melt the shields.
And then I guess on further character stuff, like some of the skins and stuff like that. We were talking about, it's cool that they brought the older stuff over, and the fact that you can play an older looking Reinhardt if you want, or you can play the new one. I don't know why you'd want to play the older one because the newer one just looks bomb. Like all of the textures are great, and it's cool. It's like it's still that cartoony vibe, but then it's got like hyper realistic. Like if you like look at Roadhog, his like stomach, you can see like the texture of skin on it. Like you can actually see like bumps and different stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And pigmentation, but the character stuff, I have no complaints about that. The new maps, I think they're cool. It's definitely going to be like this weird growing pain piece because the old maps are just like push ahead and move, and the new ones are have a lot of verticality to them, like, which is cool. That's great because it makes sniping and other plays and using ultimates kind of cool, where you can jump in and use ultimates a lot more. I think that's pretty neat. But there's definitely a big difference in like what an old map was and what a new map is. You can get lost in some of the new maps, like just like they're pretty labyrinthy. the one complaint I would have on maps kind of goes back to what we were talking about with how they were selective on like what they chose to upgrade and what they chose not to. I really don't understand why they did a lot of the time of day changes. I mean, I think really if they didn't do the time of day changes, then it would have been even more of a less of even an update, really. But they chose maps that they chose, like, for example, Route 66, all that fucking beautiful stonework and everything, all that shit should probably stay daytime. It should probably not be night map. And then same with the like Spanish Village one.
Yeah.
It's daytime now, and there's nothing but the map hasn't changed where like all of the lighting and stuff like that is meant for a nighttime. Like there's strung lights everywhere. Why the fuck would you turn that to daytime? Or at least make it where they change, you know? Like, who gives a shit? But it's just weird.
I heard somebody describe it as all of the old maps, they basically just, like, made it 6 hours later.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, essentially. But the problem is that those maps they weren't redesigned for the, like, all they did was change the lighting. They didn't change, like, the textures to it. So, like, Route 66 just feels really fucking weird. And you have a map there where you know it looks a lot prettier during the daytime. And fuck, maybe they'll do something cool where they, like, I think it'd be neat where it changes. So it's like, oh, you're playing Route 66 in the daytime. And then, you know, your next match, 4 matches from now on Route 66 might be, you know, at night. I'm cool. I'm down with that. But it's like, why get rid of, like, you made a map that's based on, like, Utah, you know, why would you do away with all of that rock work and just make it dark as fuck, especially when that would have been a great map to showcase, like, up-resing everything and making it look a lot nicer. It's just kind of confusing to me on that piece. But I do like the new maps. I like Midtown. It is interesting, like how much more vertical it is. It's kind of neat to see. We'll see if that sticks, because, I mean, I think each map in Overwatch always has, like, its spots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's always choke points.
Yeah, we'll have to see if those stay there or not, and maybe they'll change things up. I think now that it's free-to-play, there'll be a lot of shit where, like, with the maps, they'll say, hey, we moved this car here, or we put another car here, we put another tree here as an object to, you know, hide behind, stuff like that. That'll be kind of neat. On the game modes, I mean, standard shit. But like what you said, push is a cool game mode. I think it's dope. I think it's a great concept. Really cool. On the battle pass itself, not too impressed with it so far. Like the charms and shit, I don't know if you've went in and looked at that shit.
Yeah.
But that is some of the most lazily done in terms of positioning on those guns that I have ever seen in my fucking life.
Some of them are literally on people's hands. Like Zenyatta has them on his hands. Moira has them on her hands. Reinhardt's was kind of okay because it was on his hammer, but they always did put it actually in a frame so you can see it, which I get, right? Like,
but
it
if
does
you're
no
gonna do
good
the hand, do like a fucking bracelet.
Yeah, do something
Instead,
other than
like
literally attaching it like.
It's a black peg sticking out randomly out of someone's fucking hand. Like, it's just so lazy. And even on some of the guns, the positioning where they put that tab is crazy. Like, me and Eric were going through it, and like, I think it's on Roadhogs. Maybe they fixed it, I don't know. But on Roadhogs, like, you can clearly, like, the peg is like a quarter of an inch over from a hole that's in the gun, where you could have clearly put the peg in the hole and it would have made a lot more sense, but it's just floating over top of the hole. And it wouldn't have been, if it was in the hole, it would not have been like off frame for being able to see the charm as you're walking around. It's just, it was that fucking lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's bizarre.
Do you also feel like the battle pass, like you're whipping by it really quick?
I haven't played a ton since I got it. So I played a handful beforehand just to kind of see how quick I would level up. And then I bought the battle pass, and it's like a 25% XP boost as soon as you get the battle pass, or something like that.
It goes, not saying that they should change that, but it goes so fast. Like, I'm already like level 30 something.
Oh god.
On the battle pass, and I have not played that much. I mean, I've played
Yeah.
an amount, but like every game I come out of, it just feels like it's going to the next fucking level.
I'm okay with that. Hopefully they
I'm okay
don't
with it.
patch
I
that for a little
just,
bit.
yeah, I see them changing that in the future.
Oh yeah, and I've seen that iteration like even in games of like Fortnite and stuff, right? So the
Mhm.
kids will be playing, and I'll usually pick up the pass too because I play with them enough to actually warrant it, and I could get through it. There's times where I'll be blown through it in no time, and other times I'll get to the end of the season or whatever. I'm like, oh shit, I got to finish this up, right? So it does fluctuate a lot, and I've seen some of those changes in other games that use battle passes as well, where it's Halo was a good example, right? Halo Infinite, when it first came out, that first battle pass, like I was concerned I wasn't going to make it through it, and I was through it all in a month. Granted, I played a lot of Halo when it first came out, but regardless, and then they didn't even go to another season for a couple months, and then there's no real
Yeah.
reason to play because there's nothing beyond the battle pass, and in that game it wasn't whatever, right? But yeah, I don't know. I get it, and I'm okay with it, but I imagine that will be changed, and I'm sure they'll probably overcorrect, and then it's going to be an absolute
Yes.
slog to get through it
Yes.
next time.
What's also crazy is like this is a battle pass where I feel like the items in it are the most like
Yes, lots of sprays, lots
just
of
the
weird
sprays and
charms,
shit
lots
that you're
of
never gonna like the
voice lines.
oh, I forget what they call them. I don't think they're called artifacts. It might be whatever, but like I unlocked a taco, so when I use an emote, my fucking Roadhog goes like this, and then a taco spins up, and then he does the same fucking thing, but this time a heart spins up. Like,
Yes.
nobody's gonna fucking use that. Nobody gives a
No.
shit about that. What's also
No.
crazy about that is this is the first battle pass.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
should
the
have
shit
been
you got.
incredible. Right.
Yes. There are some
should
cool
have-
skins in the
Yes.
game, but by God, I don't give a shit about the tacos and stuff like that. Like, make it harder to get through levels, but give and have less levels to it, but have higher quality things that I'm actually going to use. Like the charms, I will probably use. I hate the fucking positioning of them, but I'll use the charms.
Yeah,
But all
I'll
the
use
other
them.
shit, I don't give a shit about. And then I mean, what I guess kind of closes out. What's crazy is, from my understanding, after Jeff had left the Overwatch team, they basically rejigged everything. And they decided just to get this son of a bitch going into free to play ASAP and use the PvE portion to use it in installments, similar to Fortnite, where you've got those missions, which is brilliant. I understand that. I get that. That's fine. And there's actually in some of the maps, like Kings Row and Rialto, there are actually portions of the PvE map that are behind the map that you can see now when you go into the camera mode, which is kind of crazy. And they're unfinished. Like, they're not done yet.
It's crazy to have those load in on that instance
Yes.
instead of doing like a separate instance of it or whatever, right?
Yeah. So that's in there. I will hand it to them. The development time was a full year on this, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I will hand it to them that they got that done. I mean, a lot of people forget too with Overwatch that Overwatch was originally, or not Overwatch was originally, but there was originally a game that Blizzard was working on, and then they scrapped it. They took the assets from that, put it into this game mode for Overwatch, built it in 12 months, shipped it, and it became one of the fastest growing IP that they've ever had.
Right.
Which is
the multiplayer
amazing.
side of it's not. I don't want to say easy because it's not easy, but
Yeah.
that is significantly easier than the PvE side of things that they're working on now.
Yeah.
I imagine it won't be too horribly long before we see that PvE side of it because they were working on it and they shifted focus basically to get this out the door. And so they'll be returning to it for sure, but I wouldn't doubt it's like next year, or they start trickling out content like you were talking about, where they're going to put out like episodes essentially and go through it that way.
Which I'm looking forward to that, and I think that's going to be great. I think over due time, it's going to become more of its own thing. But, I mean, really, I don't understand the Overwatch 2 piece. I think they could have just renamed it, like, they could have just kept Overwatch, went free to play, and I think that it would have been fine. But to call it Overwatch 2 is a little weird, considering I'm assuming what's eventually going to happen is that you will be able to, I don't know, once all the PvE things come out for season 1, maybe you're able to purchase all those, like kind of like the Fortnite base game that originally. I don't know how they're gonna fucking do that. Like, so I don't know what constitutes Overwatch 2 at this point, even going forward.
I think they were just making it a central platform. I imagine once some of this content starts coming out, the PvE stuff, I would not doubt that has a price tag on it. I would be actually surprised if
I'd be
it didn't
surprised
have a price tag.
or like
because
it's
I think
included with the battle pass for $20. Because that for me, if that's the thing,
or a
then
version of the battle pass that comes with it, right?
like that, there's value there. That's fine.
Yes.
You can elect like episodes or something like that if that's the case and how they want to do it, which would be a lot, more robust than what like Fortnite does, where you're going through an acid trip effectively and then being shown a shop of here's the stuff that you can buy now. Welcome back from your trip.
That's pretty accurate, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess in total, also sound is much better. The sound is so much nicer in the game. I love that. All the particle effects are great too. I don't know if I'm like what I'm disappointed about is I was disappointed about the launch, and I'm disappointed about just the selectiveness of what out of the gate they decided to change. And I think the things that they decided to change, they didn't really need to change. In some cases, especially when it came to like the UI and some other things within the game itself. But I'm also incredibly optimistic because it is free to play, and they will fuck around with this thing more, and it will get more attention, and they will continue to weekly, update it. But there, pro tip for people out there: go into your fucking settings, go to accessibility, turn off HUD shake, and turn off. God, there's another thing in there.
Motion blur.
Reduce it. A lot of people will feel
motion blur makes me nauseous.
Well, a lot of people were feeling like their aim was off like crazy. And one of the, I don't know who the fuck decided to do it, but somebody decided to do it at Blizzard that, if you're a Junkrat and you get into you step into a trap, that your entire HUD should just violently fucking shake around like you got into a car crash. And then you can't see shit, and all of the motion on screen goes like this, right? And you can't aim, so go shut that off. But I still think it's worth people checking out. If you've never played Overwatch, I think this is probably its gameplay at its best that it's ever been at. So that's great. I'd be patient on the UI and battle pass piece. Maybe they'll figure that over, due time, especially with the PvE piece coming in. But I still think it's a good game. Like, I still think it's a great game. I mean, that's kind of my gist onto it. All kind of what I feel about it. I think that's interesting. Just a weird model.
I would wholeheartedly agree. I think it is a good game. I think it's a great game, even, right? Like, I think this is doing exactly what it should be doing as a next version of Overwatch. I don't even want to call it a new
no, it's a rebranding. It's a
rebranding, right?
Really what it is, I guess.
And I think what I'm most excited for is once we get to the point where it is has that PvE content, right? From what I've heard, and a lot of it's hearsay and rumor, right? But from what I have heard so far, the PvE sounds like it could be really fucking cool. And
it's like campaign level shit, yeah. It's not
right
cheap
where
stuff.
You have skill trees and you work through with like different characters you can go through as a team. Like I think there's a lot of room for that to be really, really fucking cool. Because the original game that you were talking about that they were working on, I believe it was an MMO.
It was an MMO, yes.
And I think they want to return to something similar. I think this is going to be more RPG than MMO, really.
Every rumor I've heard is it's going to be like the campaign piece is going to have like your main story to it, and then it's basically going to be like dungeon crawling in some capacity, like Hades style, where like you go back and forth, and then you're just going into like, okay, I need to speed run this thing again, and I'm leveling up my skill tree, shit like that, which is great. And the replayability is amazing.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too. That'd be great.
So, I mean, the multiplayer part of it, solid. It's just as solid as Overwatch has ever been. I think it's great. And I think the PvE will just add to that, and I think overall we'll have a good package. But yeah, like you said, the launch was an absolute fucking disaster. And there's just weird little things that could get fixed, right? And they probably just had to get this out soon, and they didn't want to be right in front of, or right, next to Call of Duty and some of the other games releasing at the end of this year. And so this is when they probably had to get it out for shareholders, and it makes sense. And hopefully some of the weird pains will get fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Moving on, PlayStation Plus Games Catalog Editions. We got those for October. I'll roll through these real quick. So in the extra and premium tiers, which are confusing as fuck, and if you haven't figured it out, neither have I. GTA Vice City, the definitive edition, is coming, which is kind of it's pretty interesting that they're bringing that, but whatever. Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age definitive edition is coming. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Dragon Quest Builders, Dragon Quest Builders 2, Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Trees Woe and the Blight Below, Dragon Quest Heroes 2 Explorers Edition, Inside, The Medium, Naruto 2 Boruto, Shinobi Striker, Assassin's Creed Chronicles China, Assassin's Creed Chronicles India, Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and Ho-Ho-Kum. I will say something that I think is great that both Game Pass and PlayStation Plus is doing is taking like all of an IP's like games and then throwing it out there versus this, which could be a good thing or a fucking bad thing depending on how long the games are up there. But before, when it was like, yeah, here's Odyssey, or like here's Black Flag, and then you're like, okay, but I want to play like the one that was before this and the one after, and go through that piece. Like the Dragon Quest Builders, it's great that you can play Builders 1 and 2, and then you can go to Heroes 1 and 2. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. In the premium tier, Premium Classics, you're getting Yakuza 3 Remastered. Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 Remastered. Limbo, Ultra Street Fighter 5, or fuck me. 4. God, fucking Roman numerals. Castlevania Lords of Shadow, and Everyday Shooter. So those are your games for October. I think it's pretty solid. Like that's cool. The Chronicles stuff is a little cheesy, but also I've tried. Oh my god, I tried playing Assassin's Creed Origins. No.
Just no.
As a monthly game. I downloaded it. I got into it, and like I don't know, man. Those Ubisoft games are not fucking great looking. Like Valhalla, I'll give them that. Looks a lot better, but like, fuck, man. I went back and I played that with Origins, and holy shit, the character model looks terrible. The intro to the game was just brutal. The first fight that you're in, you're like, okay, what the fuck's going on here? The sound was brutal.
I cannot stand their character models. They always look so bad.
I can't put my finger on what the fuck it is. Like, it's the face is the first piece, but then it's almost like the body is fucking lifeless.
Yes. As
it walks around. Like, some of their games really, honest to God, feel like, when you're watching a sitcom, and the kid is sitting there playing a video game on the TV, and clearly it is just like an animated like feature film that someone made for 10 seconds in post-production and overlay. Their fucking games look like that.
They do have that feel to them, yeah.
Their games look and feel like as if like someone just needed 10 seconds of footage to go into, the fucking Big Bang Theory or something like that, and they needed to say... So I'm just playing this shooter right now.
I would agree that Valhalla looks, at least their facial models look better. They're still not right.
They're behind.
Like, something's still off.
Big time.
But yeah, they still had the same issue of like, me and Nick have talked about it multiple times. Like that one mission that you go in there and this couple wants to get it on but they want their house on fire and you have to like light it. They're literally sitting on a fucking bench and she's like making moaning sounds and shit. They're sitting on this bench, not doing anything, just fucking talking. And it's fucking weird. It feels strange to sit here and have like
stare fucking each other, huh?
just lifeless. It is bizarre, but yeah, and even the characters like walking around, they all have like the same like NPC walk, right?
Yes,
Like,
they're all like blocky shit, and like I packed my patience because like, okay, this is a couple games ago, like give it some time. I gave it like 40 minutes, bro.
yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like I went like when you get into like, you defeat the first guy, you go into the pyramid and all this shit, and you're kind of running around like the ruins or whatever. It's dark as fuck. You have no idea where the fuck you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, just scan, just use your sense to figure out. And then it's like, okay, it's up there. How the fuck do I get there? And then I decided, surely this game just wasn't for me. Let me go try out Watch Dogs 2. Same shit, bro.
Yeah. I actually didn't hate Watch Dogs 2 at least. Watch Dogs, the first one was not amazing, but I still played it. But
just weird.
Watch Dogs 2, that one took me a while to get into, but I did finally get around to beating it. I have Watch Dogs Legion, and I probably have put a couple hours into it, and that's about it. Can't drag myself back in.
Yeah, it was really busting my balls playing that. Which, speaking of balls, can I do that? Can I go right into it?
Yeah, you sure can.
Okay, absolutely. Support for Diggity is brought to you by Manscaped. Who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming? Trick question, bitches. It's Manscaped. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. With this exclusive offer for you, we offer you 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code Diggity, D-I-G-G-I-T-Y. I almost fucking cramped up on spelling your own shit. Even though it's right in front of me, at manscaped.com. It's get out there and save yourself 20% off and worldwide free shipping. Diggity, code Diggity, D-I-G-G-I-T-Y, at manscaped.com. Shave your balls.
Nailed it the second time.
Give your balls a shave.
Give your balls a shave,
tit fucker. But anyways, yeah, thank you Manscaped for the support. We do use it. Just flat out, we're not going to fucking endorse anything on the show unless we have it. So, yes, we have both shaved our balls with this thing.
Indeed.
Other endorsements might be like, hey, yes, we did use this audiobook service and I listened to this audiobook. In this case, yes, I did indeed shave my balls with this product. It's a little different, but we did, in fact, use it. So, jump on over there. Code Diggity, manscaped.com. Thank you.
So moving into our next piece of news, and also speaking of balls, Microsoft has made it very clear that they are not happy with the UK competition regulators' decision to expand their look into the Activision Blizzard acquisition by taking it into a second phase due to antitrust concerns.
The UK,
so Microsoft has since stated that they believe the regulators' concerns are misplaced and that they have adopted Sony's complaints without the appropriate level of critical review. So a few highlights from this fucking response from Microsoft. What's that?
Very legalese here.
Very legal. So these are all quotes here. These unsupported theories of harm are not sufficient to justify a reference to Phase 2. The suggestion that the incumbent market leader with clear and enduring market power could be foreclosed by the third largest provider as a result of losing access to one title is not credible. The next quote was, while Sony may not welcome increased competition, it has the ability to adapt and compete. Gamers will ultimately benefit from the increased competition and choice. Sony engages in conduct today, which is reflective of its market power in console gaming, including increasing prices of its consoles without fear of losing market share. And should any consumers decide to switch from a gaming platform, does not give them a choice as to how to pay for new games, quotations, PlayStation, to one that does, Xbox, then that is the sort of consumer switching behavior that the CMA should consider welfare enhancing and indeed encourage. It is not something that the CMA should try to prevent.
Yeah, this is interesting because I feel like both companies are just fucking themselves into oblivion here and not going to be able to go acquire stuff. Like, looking at it, I'm not a lawyer, but looking at it, I'm sitting here and like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Sony was complaining about this, right? Even though Microsoft has said, we will fucking put Call of Duty on the PlayStation until 2027, okay? Is what it deep in the papers has. Second to that, it does not make any financial sense for them to pull it from PlayStation.
Absolutely
Activision's largest fucking customer is PlayStation. There is no reason to fucking pull it. If they do pull it, okay, cool. They'll take maybe a hit to that, but they can regroup that. But PlayStation's argument of like, oh, this is non-competitive and all this shit, it's kind of bullshit because what they're doing is they're just going to fuck this over to the point where PlayStation still needs to go acquire shit. Like PlayStation is behind on acquiring things. They need to go out and continue to acquire things, and all they're doing is fucking themselves over to go and acquire things later on. Like, what if PlayStation goes and fucking picks up, like, Square Enix?
Right.
Fully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or goes and picks up Ubisoft for unknown reason. You know, what's Xbox going to sit there and fucking... Xbox is going to do the same shit that they're doing in terms of complaining, so I feel like they're just making this more of a pain in the ass for anybody looking to acquire anything, which is why this entire time this has been happening. For the last couple of years, I've not been happy about the consolidation of the games industry. I think it's a fucking terrible thing. And it's just going to, like, the greatest example of this is like Disney with Marvel and Star Wars. They have just basically jerked off to Star Wars and Marvel for the last 6 to 7 years, and we have been getting some of the most shittiest things out in the last couple of years.
Fucking terrible. Some of the Marvel shows have been awful.
She-Hulk is fucking hot trash. Fight me. There's no reason for Sony to be doing this. It's fucking really dumb for them to play this way.
Yes.
And then on Xbox side, it's really dumb for Xbox to be fighting this as well, because this is making it hard for both of them to go and acquire stuff in the future, which I guess helps my side where I sit there and go, I don't like the consolidation, but it's also kind of too late. So much shit's been bought up at this point that the only person that can go buy shit now is fucking Tencent, which that's just great, you know? And then we're going to have Sony, Tencent, and Microsoft in this fucking space. That is not good. That is not a good fucking thing. And so I don't know. I don't know what their fucking problem is. The UK also, the Brazilian board passed it.
Yeah, and
Brazil said okay, which every other swinging dick in our industry decided to say, "Wow, this is amazing that this passed." It's Brazil. Okay, we got you can pay the fucking police. Okay, to be on your side, bro. I'm not. I'm not sitting here going, boy, what a paramount fucking thing.
Right, this guy signed overlooking a street where 3 people got stabbed and 4 people got shot.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Like we've got a couple solid cities in the country. We still have shit running down the sidewalks on the hills with no working plumbing. A terrible economic collapse within the country, and yes, if I pay the police, the equivalent of $5, they'll fucking kill someone for me.
For a brief moment, I was not sure if you were talking about Brazil or California.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I just don't know. Like IGN, all these places were like, oh, it passed. Surely it's gonna pass here, bro. The standards for passing shit in Brazil, dude, like
not very high,
not very fucking high. All right, not high at all. On the UK, on the other hand, like over the last couple of years, it's just been brutal, right? Like, I mean, I think the UK, definitely the EU board, but like what for iPhone has to go to USB-C in 2024 because of that board, which I kind of get going to that kind of that side of stuff with the cable and making stuff universal in some aspects, but yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna get held up. Like, to be honest with you, dude, I think what's going to have to happen here is they're going to have to, I think they will have to drop some things. And on the U.S. side, the U.S. side is going to pass because they're going to fucking lobby. Someone's going to fucking make a bunch of money,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say it. Nancy Pelosi's going to go buy like fucking $10 million worth of stock in Microsoft or something because she knows 4 days before that's going to pass. So the UK is really the only one that holds it up, and I could actually see the UK really making this a thing where they have to fucking drop something, but it's gonna be something stupid where like they have to drop like some mobile game or something like that. They're like, there you go, you're okay now, and like just some, at least in some of these cases that I've seen come out of the UK with like digital property, but we'll see. I mean, both arguments are shit. Like Xbox argument here with fucking, was it here? These the unsupported theories, whatever. It's a theory. Who gives a shit? But while Sony may not welcome increased competition, it has the ability to adapt and compete. Gamers will ultimately benefit from this increased competition and choice. Probably not.
Yeah, that one.
That's consolidation. That's not. It's not like.
I think that was kind of foreshadowing to one of their later statements where they were talking about how basically Game Pass offers a different way to purchase games. That's kind of, I think, what they were trying to do with that. And that exact placement of these statements, I didn't put them in the same order as I found them, but yeah, I don't know. So my mind, I think you're right. I think this is going to get held up in the UK and it's going to become some big fucking deal, right? But I also don't, I personally don't, I don't see how they're ever going to take Call of Duty and make it only on Xbox.
All of their products rely on PlayStation heavily.
Yes.
Now maybe 2 console generations from now, maybe that's not going to be the case, but who gives a shit, right?
Right.
But like the current gen and the next one, like fucking look at Overwatch 2. That's free to play. Why the fuck would you take that off of other systems?
Right.
Why would you ever do that?
And as we've said a million times, they don't care about console sales. They want you in the ecosystem. So whether you're playing on PC, whether you're playing on PlayStation, whether you're playing on Xbox, at this point, if they own Call of Duty, you're kind of in the ecosystem, right? They don't care about how many Series X or Series S's they sell. They just want you to be a part of Game Pass or whatever it may be, right? Mm-hmm. And we've talked many times about, oh, well, what if Game Pass came to Switch, or what if Game Pass came to PlayStation, or something of that nature, right? And it won't ever come to PlayStation because clearly they don't play well together. But regardless, at the end of the day, they are putting $69 billion into this, and they are not going to take one of the primary consoles that people are playing Call of Duty on away just to make a fucking point. They are a business. They are going to keep it there.
Dumb with this shit.
I think people don't understand that consoles are not where they make their money. It is so dumb. Well, it is incredible.
I don't like the consolidation, but at the end of the day, it's business. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That's what's great. I mean, we live in a capitalist society. Arguably the best way to run a society in today's fucking world. I think it works great. I think what they're doing is the freedom to fucking at least explore doing this shit with regulatory boards, which is what they're fucking going through. But the people online, if you don't like it, don't buy it or shut the fuck up. I don't get it. I don't get it anymore. I mean, it's just complaining.
I agree. There was another quote in there where Microsoft actually pointed out how many console exclusives that PlayStation had. And it was like over 200. Granted, obviously most of those are not AAA games, but regardless, they're like, hey, they have all of these. We are trying to catch up, and they have a shitload of studios behind them now, but they don't have those games coming out as often, right? And so they are responding, as I've said on here a million times, they are responding to the criticisms they've gotten in the past by purchasing companies and bringing more games that are Xbox games, and to say that PlayStation didn't do the same thing is ridiculous. They just bought Bungie. They have how many times do they pay for exclusive content? How many times do they do all of this?
And they plan on doing live service games that are probably locked to the PlayStation ecosystem.
Probably. 100%. Yeah.
I mean,
and they also, like Insomniac, they were purchased by PlayStation. They were not a PlayStation studio. Like, I think people are, they forget all of these things.
Like, looking back on it, the fact that they picked up Insomniac for only like what fucking, I think 100 and something million.
Yeah, it was dirt cheap.
Like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
just think about Bethesda being bought up by Xbox today. That would probably be worth more.
And Spider-Man is 100% a console seller. Like that is the
Absolutely.
reason I bought my PS4. I bought my PS4 because of God of War
Yeah.
and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
yeah, it
Ragnarok's coming
worked
out. There's gonna be a bunch of fucking people that go buy
if you can find
PS5
one.
for if you can find one for Ragnarok. Yeah. No,
Right.
it's interesting, and it's just leading to crazy shit. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this, but PlayStation uses Microsoft Azure.
Yes.
So and like the thing, Microsoft can't pull it because then they'll be like, well, you're just doing a big fuck you. But in 2 years after this settles, or maybe doesn't settle, Microsoft can sit there and say, fuck you, we're pulling that shit. You can go work with somebody else.
Figure it
You
out.
have to go work with Amazon.
Go talk to Google about
God forbid they work with Google Cloud. Holy fuck. Jesus. We'll be on the Stadia network. Moving on, we've got some quick revenues for some services which were revealed from unlikely places. So we obviously talked about Brazil recently approved Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and while doing so, they released a 76-page document detailing why they agreed to allow this deal to go through. So this document released some revenue figures for services that we have not seen any numbers for, which is really neat. So Nintendo Switch Online made nearly $1 billion in 2021. Jesus Christ. I can't believe that because
And
Nintendo
people
Switch
wonder why they
Online is hot shit.
and people wonder why they don't bring back the virtual console. That is why.
That
right
is
there.
why. Right there.
Subscription services.
Yep. Microsoft Game Pass made $2.9 billion on console. That's cool. That's great. Is it in the green now?
I don't know because there was no actual profit margin in this.
I would assume it's green year over year now, but not of total project costs and acquisitions, obviously.
Right. And a lot of it they have, deals that they pay for to get these companies on board and stuff. So I'm not entirely sure what that looks like and where they're at, but I can't imagine they've spent, 2.9 billion last year in the different games that they got on their service. So I would think as far as that, like you said, yeah, the initial setup costs and everything, maybe not, but I would think that would be green.
I would assume it's green now in terms of like operating income.
I would surely think so.
God, I would hope so, or else it's expensive.
Right.
Xbox Gaming raked in $16.28 billion in all of 2021 as well, that's fucking considerable. Can I also say too on the Brazil piece and just other stuff, like just to tidy up the legal piece, that Phil Spencer kind of like talks from both ends of his fucking mouth.
Yes.
And that like everybody like not that I'm a PlayStation fan, I just like everyone like puts him on a pedestal for shit, and I just kind of sit here and I'm like, he kind of fucking says one thing and then says the other thing in another interview, and it's just convoluting as fuck.
I assume almost everyone at that level does that. To be perfectly fair,
I guess I do
like him more than I do Jim Ryan, though. I cannot stand Jim Ryan.
Problem with Jim Ryan is that Jim Ryan just needs to be the CEO. He does not need to be the hip CEO. Like the guy before him, what was his name? Sean Layden? Or
yeah,
I
think so.
I mean, he came from like creative, right?
Right.
I believe. Yes, I think he was a creative one. And it's like, that was cool. He's able to go on stage and actually talk about the creativity piece and stuff like that. This guy's just a bean counter. And he just needs to sit there and
just count your beans,
just
fella.
Count your beans, brother. I mean, that motherfucker was holding a PlayStation controller in just the worst fucking way. Have you seen that photo? Have you seen that? Oh my God. Put it in real quick. Put Jim Ryan PS5 controller holding and you'll die. It was fucking terrible. Like, who the fuck holds it like that?
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah. So the publication got a photo of that, and that still made it through PR. And like Jim Ryan has had some good points where he's like, I want to cut this and I want to move the funds to, and I think the moves that he's making are smart. He is he's first of all one of the least photogenic men I've ever seen in my life run a company. The second piece to that is he clearly does not fucking use this thing. So just let him sit back, do his fucking thing, in terms of counting the beans and delegation of, hey, we need to move people. Like he literally looks like the CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods. Like he should be CEO of Home Depot or Dick's Sporting Goods or like fucking NASCAR.
It could be worse. They could have the fucking CEO and owner of Bang.
Yeah, dude, I legitimately stopped drinking Bang because I fucking couldn't stand. Like I had no idea. I had no idea about that guy and that family. And I'm not doing any of this because of social justice shit. I just purely, I looked at the man for the first time ever in the video, and within the first 10 seconds, I went, this is literally like a supervillain. Like if you were to mask out a supervillain. You good? Is there somebody in your fucking house?
I don't know.
You wanna go check and I can cover the next story?
You go talk. I'll be back.
It's Jim Ryan. Okay. Anyways, yeah, Jim Ryan just weirdo looking people. But anyways, as Brody goes and checks on what's going on in his house and if he has an intruder in his home. Other noticeable facts in terms of revenue or just business as usual is that the PS5 has sold 2 million units alone in the UK, making it the fourth fastest selling console of all time in this market, which is considerable. And it just kind of it goes to show you how high the demand is, but we also have to remember too that we have a low supply. This could be much higher if the PS5 was available. Are you good? Did somebody break in your house or?
No, my wife just got home and the dogs were going crazy, and that's what it was. So we're good.
Jesus, okay.
Not an intruder. She lives here.
I just said the PS5 2 million units in the UK thing just to catch you up, but also Jim Ryan just needs to fucking bean count, bro. He does not need to be out there. Get somebody else out there doing their thing. But he's not your guy.
No, absolutely not.
He should not be doing that.
So these last two, I'll just do these last two real quick.
You go for it, yeah.
So we've got a couple announcements. So Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales is coming to PC on November 18th. And this is coming to both Steam and the Epic Game Store. And then Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden have a release date for modern consoles. And this is January 19th, 2023.
Nice. Dude, I'm so stoked for the next Spider-Man.
Yes.
Have you heard that they're
Spider-Man 2?
that apparently it's just like beating all expectations?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So excited for it.
I'm
That
thoroughly
both
excited.
thrills me and also terrifies me.
Yeah. Usually
we're
marketing
actually
like that ahead of time is a little scary.
Well, and we're actually going to get a Spider-Man game completely built for PS5.
Yes, and that's the most
That's
exciting part of it.
Fucking wild. And
Yeah.
Wolverine's going to be dope too. My God.
Insomniac, man. Fucking killing it.
What they need to do, man, they need to make a Deadpool game.
They made one years and years ago. Not Insomniac.
I know. But if Insomniac made a Deadpool game and it kind of crossed that line between a good superhero game, which no one has done good ones except for Batman Arkham.
Yes.
Series and then Spider-Man, in my own personal opinion. But if they can cross that with the humor and cross that boundary, like a mix between a Grand Theft Auto and a Spider-Man style game with Deadpool imposed into it, good God. That would be amazing.
That'd be fantastic.
Cool. Well, before we wrap up, do you want to quickly go just what we've been playing, just real quick?
Yeah, so I finally got around to trying to work through some of my backlog and games that I have half finished. So I finished up the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade DLC. That was not even all that long. I just got sidetracked and never finished it. So I went back, finished that up finally. I also went back into Tales of Arise, which that was interesting because I have not played that in months. And had to entirely reteach myself how to play that game. Actually, it could be damn near a year since I played that. Like it was
Jesus.
shortly after release, and I'm probably a little over halfway into it. So definitely would like to get that wrapped up. I also played a little bit of Overwatch 2, as we kind of already talked about. And the
Mhm.
last thing I have been playing is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which is a GameCube game that
Ooh,
I have
shit.
never played. But
I did. I went into a YouTube wormhole on all things GameCube, and I learned a ton about the Panasonic Q.
yeah, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Fucking wild, dude. And also, I mean, I knew about it before, but I just never really like looked way into it. And I found this really good guy on YouTube. I'll have to next week. I'll have to bring the guy's name up because he's really cool. But it just cracked me up. Like the thing just looks like someone fucking made it in a garage. I mean, it's
Yeah.
got so many
Oh yeah.
buttons on it. They just slammed like a DVD player into that son of a gun, and then like it's all like mirror finish chrome. And it's
Yep.
like, what the fuck was going on here? Like, this is just wild looking. For stuff that I've been playing, like I said, I dipped a bit into Watch Dogs 2. I dipped a bit into Assassin's Creed Origins. Not a big fan of that one. I played a little bit of NHL 22. NHL's back, baby. Hockey's back now. Just watched some of my beloved Maple Leafs playing. And then play a little bit of Madden as well. So Madden 21. I didn't buy 22, and I am buying fucking 23.
Fair enough.
So that shit is rancid. We need that shit to get figured out
Yes.
ASAP.
Agreed.
Real bad. Well, guys, that'll do it for the show. If you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you can at Diggity Podcast. You can also check us out, part of the Spawn Camp Network on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/SpawnCampCo. Like we said, we go live every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Twitch. And you can check the audio version of this podcast on any podcast platform you could think of, really. I mean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever. We are there. And that episode or the audio version of the podcast goes up live like way early on Friday. So there should be no reason why you don't have that in the morning for your commute. If you don't have it, I don't know. I don't tell you. We don't run that. So if you also want to join a community of awesome people talking about everything from video games to Formula One to what the hell they ate last week, you can do so by joining our community Discord. That is free to join, and the link is down below, both on the YouTube video as well as the audio version of the podcast for the show notes. And until next time, guys. Or you have something?
No,
No, that's it. I think I nailed that.
you nailed it.
Hell
You
yeah.
said hell yeah.
Oh, okay, sweet. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother.